Okay, it's Tuesday. We're back. You may notice a little bit something different here, looking a little different. We got a little some fun stuff going on. Ryan's got a killer background. We are talking about rocking your event. That is what it's all about. We're changing things up just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a
So we're
rebrand.
It is a rebrand, a little bit of a rebrand, because we were kind of going with the live show, and it's like, you know what, we're really talking more about events, and really how to rock your event, and the way that we do it is virtually. So
Yep.
we're going to get into all of that stuff, and we have a special guest today.
We do, we do.
We do.
Our
It's our
very first special guest, by the way. Very
I
first.
know. Our very first. So, be gentle with us, you guys. We're going to do our best. But we're very excited that we have Marie Rios with us today. We're going to meet her in just a minute. Okay, so excited that we have a special guest today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before we meet her. Her name is Marie Rios. She is an event strategist creating interactive, fun, engaging virtual and live events in San Francisco, wine country, and now internationally because we've gone virtual. Pretty amazing. Her greatest enjoyment comes from working with wonderful, wonderful clients for whom she has the privilege to create authentic experiences. She does corporate and nonprofit events that just absolutely light her up. And she is a light. Okay, she grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. She formed some strong relationships with some of the best professionals in the industry. Her goal is to always ensure her clients get the best value from the people they hire. Together, they can build a great team of professionals. We are very excited to welcome Marie Rios to our show. Yay!
Yay! Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So great to be here. Thank you both.
Yeah, it's great
Yes,
to have you.
I know it's
Boy,
this is
the very
interesting.
first person too, right?
Yep,
So
no
your very
pressure.
Sure.
first. Oh, no pressure at all. Hey, we'll have some fun like we always
No
do.
pressure. You're an event person, you can handle pressure, no problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The name of the
So
game,
how
man.
exactly. So how have things been going for you so far in the past year? I know, you used to do a lot more of the in-person events, and I'm sure you've had to pivot as we all have. How's that going for you?
Well, yeah, my favorite word, pivot. I'm getting a little, I don't know about the two of you, but what has happened, yes, we all had to change it up. March 16th for our area happened and events just canceled. We all had to figure out something different. And I was super fortunate to have a great client who said, we cannot afford to cancel. So we're going to go virtual. And we closed the book on the live event and we opened it up to virtual. And then it just opened up a whole avenue for me to that I really enjoy this. I was doing a lot of social, like weddings and things like that. And now I'm completely in the conferences, conventions, nonprofit arena, and I'm digging it. It's really fun. We get to be creative. Yeah, all of that. So yeah,
So,
it's been going
so
pretty well.
yeah, I mean that's amazing. And so we, as I mentioned before, going international too, which I think has been a great benefit, really, for a lot of people. So how has the international experience been for you so far?
Well, it's a lot of still kind of local client, but we're getting the international attendees. So people can attend from
Yes.
all over the world, which is really wonderful. I mean, sometimes they have to get up a little bit early because if they're on certain time zones, but it allows to expand the whole reach for conferences and conventions and all kinds of different events. So I'm loving
Yeah,
that.
and Ryan and I have talked about this before, where being able to be virtual and international, you have the opportunity to bring in amazing keynote speakers at a maybe a little less cost, no travel fees and things like that, and giving them an easier opportunity, easier access to be at those events. So Yeah, go having the international
I,
piece is
I
been
know, and
amazing.
I do love that. I do love that, and I also, I mean, some costs, as we know, I don't know if you're going to, this is what you want to get into, but some costs are lower, but some costs are remaining the same too.
Right.
And, I think there, even though we don't have the venue cost, right? A lot of it's going to sound and event, event and AV production and event planning production too. So it's, I know that it's really important to educate my clients that just because you're going virtual does not mean that there's no cost. There's still a lot of costs depending on what you want to do.
All right. And you just brought up, I think, a really key word that a lot of event planners, event coordinators, may it be, third parties such as yourself, or even the event coordinators that are working for large corporations, and that is the training. People had to learn how to just use Zoom, which was like a major, oh my gosh, I know how to do Zoom now. Yay. And so I'm kind of curious, what were some of the training learnings that you had to do with keynote speakers or presenters
Yeah.
to kind of get them on board also to
Oh
ensure
yeah.
that they look their best?
Absolutely. Well, okay, so yeah, it's tough because not everyone reads and not everyone looks at the videos that you give. We do our
Right.
best. So you have to cover both arenas. You have to, if you're going to produce a video, you also have to have the written form. You just do, because some people will look at some things and some people won't. But the other thing with speakers, it's been great because we do this and we still do it. It's all about speaker management. You have to have a speaker management team. So whoever your keynotes and regular speakers are, and then always doing a tech check with
Mm-hmm.
them prior to them, if whether it's going to be pre-recorded or they're going to be live in the virtual event. We always have to have that tech check. A lot of people wait to do the tech check right before the pre-recorded. That doesn't work because the background might be not so great. And I'm okay with virtual backgrounds. I'm not fond of them. I rather set it up. So I work with professionals, whether I'm offering the advice where there's other professionals that will talk about the clothing and the hair, the makeup,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those things, how the lighting needs to be, where your windows should be. Please not behind you,
Right.
because
You
that
gotta
just
you
makes it
gotta take
really
those
hard for
windows and
all of
move
us.
them. You gotta
Yeah,
take
yeah,
those windows
exactly.
and
Well,
move
you
them.
can't do those. Yeah, so we wish we could do all that, but a lot of people don't understand that. And also the other part, now none of us are wearing them, but is glasses. There's
Mm,
and how everybody has the ring lights, and then you end up having those in their glasses. So really, I know somebody that is a speaker, and she has her regular glasses, and then she has her non-glare glasses, so that when she's on camera, that she portrays herself a little bit better, so she doesn't have all those lights in people's faces. So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a whole side industry that you can make a whole bunch of money selling the
Right.
special
I
glasses
know, right?
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
right.
that and just light placement also, like reflections and, people have TVs
Exactly.
behind them sometimes. So yeah, working all those details out. And I love the fact that you said don't do it just before. I mean, typically for us, we like to do them at least 2 weeks in advance. And
Mhm.
that's with
Yeah.
all the instructions. That's with sending them text instructions of what to expect and the videos. And like you said, most
Mhm.
people don't read it. We totally understand you're busy. And so then
Oh, yeah.
you got to kind of do that and allow yourself the time, because we've had situations where people's internet just doesn't cut it
Yeah,
and it
I agree.
fades in and out. And they're like, well, this is where I want to present because I have a nice background. However, my router is, 3 walls deep into my house. And well,
Mhm.
we're going to have to get closer to that,
Yeah,
or hardwire, of course.
Right.
exactly. I mean, and hardwires, I think that's what's happening a lot too, is even families are hardwiring in every room now, where that
Yeah.
was like the old thing that we did. Remember? It was
Yeah.
like Wi-Fi was the thing to do. Now it's like, let's all go back to hardwire. And the beauty of virtual is the fact that nobody sees nobody sees other things. Okay. So you could have a whole bunch of Amazon boxes to lift up your camera. So you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at the camera. You could have 100-foot cat 6, cord going right to the back of your router. See, I have like totally gotten
I was
techie
gonna
in this
say,
whole
Cat 6,
environment,
listen to
right?
you.
Because I can talk the talk now. So no, it's a lot of fun. But you can do all that. And that's what I talk to people about. You can do all that. Nobody knows any of that. Nobody knows, but you're coming across sharp and professional just because we're at home. A lot of us are at home. Some people still are going to their offices, but they're still interact. Does not mean we can't still up level that
Yeah.
professionalism. We want people to look great and we want the events to be awesome. And like you guys say, we want to rock the event. So that's a way to do it.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
I'm curious, do you have like, because you've been doing this for a while now in the virtual realm, do you have like
Mm-hmm.
one key takeaway that you can give people who are going to be presenting as MCs or speakers that this is like the one thing you wish you could really get across to people?
Well, and I think, okay, so from a presentation, absolutely. For delivery, I think that content used to be king. Yes, content's important, but engagement is king now.
Hmm.
Okay, so you have your content, but we have to get away from all these PowerPoint slides. And you could send me your slide and I can go through the deck. Why am I showing up at the event? Why am I coming to listen to you? What value am I getting from that? So I think my key takeaway for people is to do a combination of media. So whether you're doing a slide or maybe you're doing, like, I like to use Mentimeter. Mentimeter is another app that a lot of people use, word clouds, things like that. Get your audience to be engaged. Keep the chat open.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people close down the chat, especially when you're dealing with educational seminars. So I'm giving you a couple more than one takeaway. So, but when you're dealing with educational seminars, I think that's super important, because what tends to happen is they're like education, education, and I keep getting from some of my clients, well, what's to get them not from going to social media or pulling up their email or they're really busy. It's just the same as live. Let's find a way to keep people interested, interactive, engaged. And I think the chat, whether it's Zoom, whether it's whatever platform you're using, the chat really helps people to network. It really does. It does. They can just exchange information, do all kinds of different things. So I think that's really important. But you gotta engage people and make it
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
interesting. We did an event recently where some of the experts in the field, literally in the field, they were farmers, cheese farmers. They were on the chat. They weren't necessarily part of the virtual show on video, but they were right in there in the chat, and they were engaging with people. They were commenting. They were answering
Love it.
questions. I mean, it was amazing, and people really they loved it. They
Mm-hmm.
they didn't hesitate to ask the next question, or hey, what are you doing this? How do we do this? Where do we get this? And they were right on it. And I think that was a
I like
huge
that.
value,
Mm-hmm.
huge value for that event. So
Well,
yeah, the
and
chat.
you bring a really great point up, Sue, because that's so true. Because I keep hearing it. They're going to go on email. They're not going to be engaged. And it's because people are shutting down the chat, or they're saying you can
Yeah.
only chat to everyone, or you could just do. I say keep it open. Keep it open so people can engage. And everyone's a little bit different. Some people can do that multitasking of paying attention and doing the chat.
Right.
Some people cannot, but you just do what you can do. If you have to hide it, you hide it. And because if you want to pay attention to what's going on, so it just
Well,
varies. But I
I mean,
think it's a great thing on how to engage. Yeah, yeah.
well, and you said it
Keep
too.
people
It's kind of
engaged.
like, even if you were at a live event and you were sitting there and you had, other people with you, you might be chit-chatting
Mhm.
with them. You might be whispering, or might be asking a question, or doing a little something, or on your phone, or taking a picture of
Yeah,
the speaker and then sending it out on social media. You would be doing all of those things anyway, if you were live
yeah.
and in person.
I
So
know.
it's kind of the same thing. Hard to really, unless you've got like the most amazing speaker who's hypnotizing you or something, which
Yeah.
might be a good speaker.
As long as they don't put you to sleep
Yeah,
or do the chicken dance or,
it could be
Absolutely. Yeah.
very
Right.
entertaining though.
oh, it depends on the
I know.
convention, right? I don't know
That's true.
if it's the hypnotist convention, it might be great.
It might be really fun. So,
Right.
Marie,
Yeah.
how long have you been doing events as an event strategist? How many years have you been doing this?
Oh boy, a long time, over 25 years. Yeah, I've been doing it
Goodness.
for a long time. Yeah. So that's just my business, but then even longer when I was in the corporate, actually 9 to 5 job. So,
Okay.
so it's been part of my life for pretty much ever since I even graduated from college. So, yeah,
Wow.
thought I was going to be an accountant at one time. I can't imagine that.
That's a little bit different.
Totally different. Yeah.
So for what you do, like what's the biggest myth about what you do? What people, I see these things on where they say, they'll be like, here's what I say I do this. This is what people think, but this is what I actually
Yeah.
really do kind of thing. I'm seeing more of those little memes and things. So
Sure.
what's the biggest myth about your business?
Well, and I think a lot of people think, oh, event planning, it's so fun. And, you get to do this. And even when we can do live, you get to travel and do all, sure you do, but it is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of work. I do thrive on it and I enjoy it. And I have amazing, amazing clients. I think the myth right now, especially in the virtual environment, is that you only need like sound people and then you need Zoom. And I'm like, and so a lot of people don't realize that there's so much involved. I even have like on my website, download a virtual checklist because there's so much involved in project management. And also, I really feel when you're doing an event, don't you want to just be present and doing your event and
Right.
being engaged with your audience versus having to worry about the back end, having to worry about what's going on, the next speaker coming up, all of those kind of things. So that's what I would say right now. A lot of people think because they see when it comes live, they look at event planners, strategists, anybody, coordinator, they look at that because they see the linen, they see the ballroom, they see all the drapery that needs to happen. They get that part. I don't think they
Hmm.
quite get it with virtual, but we still have the virtual ballroom. We do. We still have it, and we have to see how we can get all the things in place. And it does require a lot. Does it
Yeah.
require a lot of knowledge?
Well,
I think it's the best thing that event planners can do right now is to have a good knowledge of, they don't have to know it all, but a knowledge of tech, just to understand a little bit and how it goes and to communicate that with their tech people and be able to communicate that to the client because the clients don't always get that. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just
Right.
that we don't know what we don't know. And
Hmm.
so why not bring people in that can help you and guide you and make it easier so you continue to do your job, right? So
Right.
yes.
And
Well,
everybody's an expert at Zoom now, so why not just put the whole event on Zoom and
oh
why
yeah, it's just
why spend the
everything's a Zoom
$50?
meeting. Yeah. There's a lot of great things about Zoom. There's a,
Yes.
yes.
a lot of great things, but it's somewhat of a platform. It's not your platform, but it's a way to communicate. But it's not, every event is not a Zoom meeting. It is not. So there's things that and I know the two of you do use different platforms too. There's a few others that are rolling out. I love just like it's the same way as live. Think about it. Having somewhat of a platform dashboard, lack of a different term, but here's registration. This is how you go through the process.
Yes.
Now we're going to go into the ballroom. Here's that. Here's your speak. So it's just nice. You have to have those areas, and it can be done somewhat with Zoom, but you also need some other things
Yes.
to really rock your event. I mean, you want to make it engaging and fun and interactive so people continue to come back.
Yes.
Because what good is you just having one event and people aren't coming back to
Right.
it?
And how many people get excited when they hear we're going to have an event on Zoom and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yay, that's exactly what I need is one more Zoom meeting." And
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference, for us is the fact that Zoom is really for meetings and typically meetings are
Mhm.
boring.
Meetings are
So
boring.
why connect boring with your event.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a one-to-one, you just do a Zoom meeting. That's fine.
Right.
But then you have to just find other, because I know we're using other platforms that still integrate Zoom but make it exciting and interesting.
Right.
So there's a difference in that, which people don't understand.
Correct.
They don't get
exactly.
that.
Well,
So
I think the other thing too, which from doing live events in the past, I have a little bit of background in that. Not as a strategist as you are, but some of those things where there's a little bit of stress once in a while when something goes wrong, and you're like, oh crap, now what? And that's one of the skills, being an event strategist and being part of all that is having the calmness to be able to figure out how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do next? And that is a skill. Not everybody has that skill, because it can be, it can make or break your event if it's something fairly significant happening where it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Let's figure out. Let's just do this.
Well,
we've got this over here. We're going to throw this person up here.
Yeah, both of you, because I think sometimes people feel like we're doing virtual, so why do we need a rehearsal? And we do actually quite a few. So one of the things I do, besides like the very beginning, is figuring out what their strategy is, why are they doing it, what's their purpose, what's their goal, and tying everything back to that. But the other thing is doing a whole walkthrough with a client on their run of show, their production schedule. We like to call it run of show, but I call it production schedule so they understand what we're talking about. And just going through that but you're doing that, and then you're doing one or two other rehearsals. Some of it can just be with your tech team and your team that's going to be on doing that rehearsal where you go through everything, and then doing a rehearsal with the client. Sometimes it's hard to get all the speakers. You just can't, but we're giving them the cues and doing the best that we can given that. So I think a lot of people don't realize that rehearsals are so important. And live, think about it. Live, we used to only do it with production. We didn't always do it with all the live people coming in. We kind of bring them in and out, but so we still have to do that. People don't realize how important that is.
I think that is really one of the most important things. And we found the same thing when doing some of the things we've done. We're having that, let's just go through the run of the show one at a time. This is going to happen. Then we're going to go to this. Then we're going to go. And that's, early on, and you go, oh, you know what? That's really not going to work. If we're going to do this, or we're going to go to this camera angle, or we're going to go here, how is that going to work? So I think you're right. Starting early, having those rehearsals, getting it all dialed in, and then, all the tech checks, that's key. It's a bigger deal than I think everyone thinks. And the other thing too, we want to rock these events, right? We want to make them interactive. We want to make them fun. Don't forget entertainment. Don't forget about those things. Entertainment. So even if it's just having, of course, you got to make sure you have all the right licenses or use the free royalty-free music, but having music in the beginning or having a DJ in the beginning, welcoming people, all of that. Because I think what happens is people are saying they're going to produce an event and then they end up being the MC and everything, right? Yeah. Instead of having somewhat of an MC, welcoming, introducing, getting the crowd excited. Even if people aren't doing the two-way conversation, they still are getting excited about stuff. So doing some special things, if you can, send some swag. All of that is really, I just think people love these swag boxes. They love them. I know it, and not everyone has a budget for it, but you could even do something small. Yeah. So those are fun things to do. When you get a package and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Now I'm really excited for the event. Especially if it has food or wine in it. That's me. I'm the food and wine thing.
Hey, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. And I also like how you kind of hinted at the fact that it's a production. So one of the things that I think Sue talked about early on with the type of work that we do with clients is that this is not an event. We're putting on a show. So when you think about it as a show, that it needs to be entertaining, unless it's the mathematicians national conference. And even then,
That can be entertaining for
they
them.
probably still want to be entertained with numbers. But the idea is you need to, and I think with video, you know, they say video ad or TV ads 10 pounds. I think it also takes energy out of the speaker. So as a speaker, you really need to kind of, it might even feel a little awkward, like you're over amplifying it, but I feel like it gets diminished on video. So even if you
Yeah.
feel like you're 20% over your norm, to other people, you might be like, yeah, he's okay, but he didn't really have that. He didn't
I
have that
agree.
much
And,
energy.
I think, for us, we're kind of like a panel. We're all sitting down and we're just having fun and with this interview. But I think when you come to an event, if you were live, you would go up to the stage, you would stand up, you would engage, you would you can tell I was Italian in another lifetime because I'm always using my hands, but, and I'm not Italian at all, but it's just like you would, those things, because people respond to your body language. They do. So I think unless it's panel, because sometimes I think the panel still is great to just be sitting, and doing that. If you're just your keynote or a presenter, stand up, because that will get you to be a little bit more engaged. It really will be, because the chair tends to kind of hinder some of the excitement and how you can be. So
and I think that's a great tip because it also ties in the muscle memory. If you're a keynote speaker, that's something you've been doing in person. There's a certain flow that you're used to going through. I get introduced, I'm either backstage or I come up on stage, but I go and we have those anchor points that kind of let us know, oh, okay, I need to bring up my energy now. I think that's a great tip. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Because it's hard because you can't see the audience, right? You can't see the audience. I mean, sometimes you can, depending on how the production is set up, but you can't see all of the audience at the same time. So sometimes that's just a nice reminder for people who are virtually presenting. So
yeah. Exactly. Well, so one last thing before we go, would love to get your take on the future of virtual events. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't think virtual is going away. I really don't think it's going away. I think as much as, COVID, none of us wanted this, but it got us all to kind of look at and rethink things. So I don't know, if I had my crystal ball would first say that when we can travel and gather and all hang out together, you're going to get a big burst of that. And people are going to want to do it. But this has opened up a whole different revenue stream for some people in corporate, nonprofit, that people never were able to attend these events, whether their companies wouldn't send them, whether they couldn't afford it, if they're, solopreneur, that kind of stuff, or just time, right? So I think it's a tough one to know about how hybrid is going to really look like, because it's hard to do one production and keep both audiences engaged. But so I think it could be a little bit more expensive for some companies, definitely. But I think you might have to have two MCs or two types of, it's just, that's kind of, but I think hybrid is where it's going to go. Virtual is not going to go away. I know some companies that are only going to continue their business with virtual. Some of them are not going back live, and they have their reasons. So it'll be interesting. I think we're all going to kind of have to wait and see how things, and I have some clients who just can't wait just to be back live, and they want to then they're saying we're going to get rid of virtual. I'm not quite sure that's
we need hugs, people. We need hugs.
Yeah, we do. We definitely need that. I mean, we're social people, especially in the hospitality industry. We're all so used to eating and drinking with each other. And so we totally need that. But I also think there's some things that, we got on the freeway for really unnecessary meetings. And I'm not, this is not necessarily events, but you're really looking at your planning and the going up to your event. And you don't have to get together for everything. You don't. We can do this. So
it can be a little more efficient. Yes. Well,
absolutely.
This has been wonderful. So nice to see you, Marie. I'm so glad you could be our very first guest. on our rebranded
Wow.
show. So we want to thank you again for being here. Marie Rios, what is the best way to reach you? What is your website?
My website is mtreventdesign.com, and on all social media, you can find me just at MTR Event Design too. Yeah. Thank you.
There you have it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. We will be back next Tuesday, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We're going to have another guest, which is going to be exciting. We're going to continue to talk about how to rock your event.
Yep. And until then, hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.